So what we're going to see in a moment is a little bit of a test shoot, bit of an experiment I did earlier on today that is highly influenced by the fantastic work the guys at Airsoft Action TV have done. And just taking on from that, wanting to test a couple of my guns with the Valkyrie BBs that I was fortunate enough to get a sample pack for, and comparing them against my standard BBs, which are the ASG Devil Blaster BBs. There's a little bit of problem in the middle with me mucking up the recording, but you can see the results at the end, and hopefully you'll find that as interesting to look at as I did recording it, and from my own personal experience. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. Hi, so we're here in the garden today during lockdown, and we're doing a bit of a test for the Valkyrie BBs, which I've had a sample of in 0.28 weight, and we're doing them against the ASG Blaster, Devil Blaster rounds, which are my normal ones that I use, to try and reduce as much variability as possible. I thought I'd try clamping it into just a standard home DIY clamp, just to reduce any of the human element. And what we're going to do, I'm going to show you where we're shooting to. And we've got fortunate enough to have about 16 metre, just under 50-foot range down to the target down there. And we'll be taking some shots out of, so this is my slightly more unusual but fully upgraded Evo Scorpion. All the internals have been done, except the motor, kept the motor stock. Everything else has pretty much been done, and obviously I've had my my hydro dipped paint job as well, just to make it stand out. And if we've got enough rounds left, I'm going to do another comparison at the end against a CYMA AK, and we'll see how they differ. Let's do. I'm going to put 30 rounds through it, and these are the ASG Devil Blasters first. Some great consistency there. I'll go and get a tape measure. So I think there we're looking at a variability of about just under 4.5 inches, maybe, or maybe 5.5 there. The furthest, actually I'm not sure, I think that might have been from earlier. So about 4.5 inches at the furthest. That's pretty consistent. You can see the grouping there in the centre. This is round 2. This is the Valkyrie BBs. So just to show, I've just taken them out of the sample pack. I'm going up against the ASG Devil Precision BBs. Been trying to keep everything as consistent as possible, using the same little cheap BB loader for them both, and we're going to run another 30 rounds through this, just to see what the consistency is against them. Don't worry about the fact that these are low, because we're looking at the consistency grouping, not how I've set them up on the DIY stand back there. So we're looking at 5 inches there to the furthest, and 4 vertical. Again, great consistency around the centre. We're shooting at the garden. I took a small break in between those two because it's very warm today. We're looking at over 20 degrees, 0 wind in the back garden here, nice and sheltered, and nothing really going on in the atmosphere wind wise either, so very good consistency of shots. This is results from the CYMA basic AK. Considerably cheaper than the Evo, which is why we possibly had a couple of bouncers off there. Didn't penetrate all the way through, but we've still got the marks of where it hit. We're looking at about 4.5 inches spread at the most there, which is pretty good. Quite happy with that. Let's see how it does with the ASG Devils. So this is the final test, again with the CYMA, and this time with the ASG Blasters. Again, same setup, absolutely everything's the same except the BBs, that's the only difference. I'm going to do 2 more. Those first 2 shot a little low and slipped, so I've readjusted my aim. So we're going to have a special look at that one. Okay, let's see how we did there. Now we can see where my first shots were hitting in there, and then my carefully placed scientific design for the setup didn't quite work. It went totally wrong, so we had to readjust. You can see the spread up here for the second lot, and again we're looking at about under 4.25. 4.25. Under 4.25. That's fantastic grouping at 16 meters. Let's go and get those other ones up and let's have a quick look at all of them. So what kind of conclusions can we pull from this experiment? Very scientific that it was. On the CYMA, we were looking at about 4.5 ish on the Valkyries, and about 4.25 on the ASG on that second test. On the first test through the Evo, again similar grouping. Looks like the centre grouping on both is possibly a little bit tighter with the Evo, and certainly the trigger response is a lot better on the Evo. And on the Evo, again, the ASG versus the Valkyrie, both the same. Maybe 1/4 of an inch in it, maybe towards the ASG. I don't think you'd see that in the real world. I think cheaper BBs, you would see more of a spread. So I think I'd be very happy to recommend Valkyrie. I'd be happy to buy Valkyrie in the future. I think it would come down to price and availability would be tops for me. I think the other interesting thing I noticed while shooting across the garden was that the CYMA appeared to be less consistent with the shots. Looking at the flight path, it seemed to be less consistent, but that's not borne out with the actual results. Again, the Evo seems to shoot like a laser, and certainly that's what's been borne out. But the results between the two, and bear in mind there's, you know, the Evo, now it's upgraded, is probably 3-4 times as much as the CYMA was. You know, budget CYMA AKs, cracking. I'll still be using my Evo though.